Today, what we're going to look at is a classic folk melody called Greensleeves, which is in most people's unconscious melodic vocabulary, shall we say. And that makes it a perfect candidate for using in chord melody practice. This series I'm shooting has to do with triads out of my book called Triads in Chord Construction, and then we want to take these triads, and I'm doing these simple melodies to give you stuff to play using triads. We're harmonizing simple, memorable folk melodies using triads. Okay, so first of all, what key are we in? We have an F sharp here, and that F sharp tells us that we're in the key of G or E minor, because those two keys are relative. In this case, we're in E minor. As you can see, it starts on an E minor, and after measure 4, it ends on an E minor. The whole tune ends on an E minor, so I would say the tonal center of this is E minor. Okay, and in terms of the chords that we're using, they're all diatonic, meaning according to the scale of E minor, being so that's an E. Natural minor scale, or also called E Aeolian, same thing. And so all of these chords come from that scale, with the exception of the B7. And as you can see with the B7 chord, and we have one here as well, there is a D sharp in the melody. There's also going to be a D sharp in that B7 chord. And that D sharp is a raised 7th degree that wants to do this. It wants to resolve back to the E minor. It's the 5 chord of E minor. And so we've raised that 7th degree to give us a stronger resolution. And in this case here, with the C sharp accidental, the C sharp is a raised 6th, giving us a melodic minor scale. So with just the D sharp, we have the harmonic minor scale, and with the D sharp and the C sharp, we have a melodic minor scale. Okay. So that and the rest is all diatonic, right? So when you see that B7, you'll know something's going on. It's not diatonic. It was put there for a reason, for a stronger resolution to the 1 chord. Okay, now let's get to the fretboard. Here is, I mean, we could play this whole thing in open position, but we don't want to do that because it doesn't leave us a lot of room to play triads, you know, and we don't get the sweetness that we do when we move it up. And that's where we want to be. Okay, so let's take a look at the melody in this position. So we start with a pickup of E, and I'm putting this triad below it. You'll notice that you'll have to chop out the triads, right? You always have to stop at the melody note. So in this case, I'm just chopping out the 3 strings, right? And then the next 3, right? That's a technique that you have to learn with triad playing. There's my G with a B on top, with that little suspension, right? And then the D, we just let that ring and go down to the B minor, E minor, C, And then we'll just play the F sharp here. Okay, that's good. And then down to the B minor, E minor, B7, raise sixth, resolving to the E minor, and then all the way up to 10th fret, D, back down to B minor, back to that C, B7, B7, G, something like that. Now we're going to do another pass, but before we do, what we've got here, whenever you play a chord, think of what you've got underneath that chord. In this case, there's our E minor. Right? Think of the scales that take place. Don't just play pictures of the chords, but think of the scales that happen underneath each of those chords. In this case, the scale is only going to be the E minor, the E natural minor scale, which is exactly the same notes as G, with the single exception of the B7 chords. Okay, so let's take another pass. B minor. This is a nice balanced E chord. We could take E minor chord rather than going down here. We can just play it. It's pretty there. You can take the B7 up here. So B7. The raised and the E. So I just played that E, up to that 7th position that time. Resolution. You can hear that resolution. It's sort of ending, and now we go to the relative major, and it sounds really bright because it's major now. And then we sort of sneak back to E minor, B7, and then they appear. Raise 6, raise 7. Okay, great practice. See, there's lots of different things that you can do. I would suggest as a warm up, you can go through the triads, right? You can just do E minor, do some exploring with each of the inversions, G, D, and so on. Go through the whole piece like that, and the same as you would. I suggest that you get yourself into a practice routine with triads. As a matter of fact, beyond that, I suggest you get yourself into a practice routine, generally speaking, which would mean you need a place to practice. Do you have a place to practice? If you're just sitting on the couch practicing, let's call that noodling. But if you're practicing, you need a place to practice. You need a chair, you need a table, you need a metronome, you need a source of music, you need a music stand, you need a guitar stand, or 10 guitar stands, depending on how many you've got. And this is a place that should be beckoning to you, like, come to me, practice. And that's when you turn the TV off, right? Or get away from your cell phone. This could have been done pretty much the same way 100 years ago, and there's something comforting about that in this current day and age before AI comes out with robots that play this instrument. Okay, so oops. Beware of the robots, and make sure that you put some time into your practice, your triad practice, and build it into your overall practice routine. Take these tunes that I'm giving you and be able to play them. This is not like watch me. I can play my scales faster than anyone else. No, it's not. This is you're actually playing melodies and you're playing songs, and it's a very important part of music. Okay, good. Thanks. Thanks for stopping by. Check out my other videos, my simple, tunes. I think I did Closer Walk with Thee and Skyboat Song and another one I keep forgetting. So there's 4 in this little series now. I'm going to get it up to about 20, and these are great for. Doesn't matter what style you're playing in. I don't care if you're playing in a rock band or if you want to just sit around and learn how to play some pretty songs. You need to know this stuff. You need to know how to play your triads. Okay, that's it. Thanks for stopping by.